here's the thing. Trans people make up a fraction of a percentage of people in society. It may seem like they make up more than that, especially these days, because you don't have to put up a content warning, Red Joker. It's my stream. Everybody knows what they're getting into when they come in here. But guys, Michael Knowles. I've said his name. That's literally all I have to do. Now that I've said his name, we're all upset. None of us are happy. I like when my stream deck doesn't let me do my zooms. I love it. It's the best. I like technology just not working. It's great. But Michael Knowles apparently has some very interesting ideas when it comes to that big word that starts with a G and ends with an entire populace of people disappearing. That one! That's a word that he's got opinions on. But let's go ahead and get into the fan art section first, and then we'll get into his opinion. First one we have here is from Maxi Muscles. Here's a little piece featuring Suris as a Winx Club fairy. I don't know how they feel about the series. It's one of my 5 favorite fandoms/series, and it seems like most in my circle of friends and associates dislike or hate Winx Club. I'm assuming Suris's power title would be Fairy of Slimes or some such. Nonetheless, hope you enjoy. Here's my opinion on Winx Club. I've only ever seen an episode of it. I don't have an opinion. But the next one we have here, thank you very much for that, Max Muscles, is from Perpugilium. First time doing something like this. Started off as a drawing from Hol-chan's perspective, and then kind of turned into an eye by accident. Behold, Hol-chan's eyes, as she looks on the volcano. Oh boy, as always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section in the Discord. But with that said, if you haven't subscribed or hit the bell notification icon, please consider doing so. They help out the channel more than you would know. But with that said, let's go ahead and get right into things. Michael Knowles! He's just loading. Michael! Do you wanna speak?
A few moments later.
That I called to ban transgenderism entirely. I made the point that if you want women to have their own bathrooms, if you think women ought to be able to have their own locker rooms and not have to look at gigantic, gross men while little girls are getting changed, if you want any of those things, you have to ban transgenderism entirely. It's not enough to say, well, you have to wait until you're 12 or whatever people are saying now. It has to be the whole thing, because if men have the right to behave as women and identify as women for the purposes of public life, then women can't have their own spaces.
Incorrect, though, because trans people who identify as women are women. But moreover, so here's the thing. Trans people make up a fraction of a percentage of people in society. It may seem like they make up more than that, especially these days, because you don't have to put up a content warning, Red Joker. It's my stream. Everybody knows what they're getting into when they come in here. But when you are dealing with a population of people that make up a very, very small amount of the population, when you go, oh my god, women can't have women's spaces, you go to a women's bar, you will probably see, what, 10, 20, 30 cis women and maybe, what, 1 or 2 trans women? Maybe? That's if you're lucky? I'm sorry, but trans people make up such a small minority in the population that freaking out about them makes no fucking sense. There's not enough of them to cause these massive societal shifting problems that you're worried about. I guarantee you've probably gone into a bathroom. If you're a cis woman, you've probably gone into a bathroom. You have probably sat down at your stall, taken a piss with a trans woman in the stall next to you who's also taking a piss, and you didn't know, because guess what? Women's stalls aren't open. You wouldn't know that the other person has different genitalia than you're used to. You'd have no way of knowing. Now, you can certainly make the point, well, what about women who look like men? There are cis women who look like men. There are various conditions that cis women can have that give them very masculine traits, but they're still cis women. And what we have found is that when people have this really, really, really toxic standard about who is and isn't a woman, etc., cis women who show more masculine tend to get thrown under the bus in this conversation, because when you start harassing a bunch of trans women in bathrooms, eventually you're going to hit a cis woman as well. You're going to hit literal collateral damage. And I guarantee you, there's just as many, if not more, cis women who have masculine features that would make people like Michael Knowles uncomfortable than there are trans women that are showcasing those masculine features. Most trans women make an effort to feminize themselves to at least some degree, and while you do not owe anybody a particular look for your gender, it is still a fact that most people who are trans make an effort to make their body look closer to the gender they identify as. There's the whole reason we have the concept of passing. There are people who simply pass. And then there are people who are trans men who were born female who Michael Knowles would want to be in the women's restroom exclusively, even though they show all of the identifying factors of a dude. Michael Knowles unironically thinks that it's better to have Blair White in the men's room and Buck Angel in the fucking women's room, despite the fact that neither of those people in any way, shape, and form look like the gender they were born as.
And we as a society cannot have our own standards and norms, and we're not allowed to live according to reality.
All right, so living according to reality. Michael, I'm going to be the edgy atheist right now. I'm going to be the edgy fucking atheist. Don't talk about living according to reality when your standards for what are real are as poor as they are. Pharaoh Funk, thank you for naming your points for an... you fucking degen. But no, seriously. I hate to tell you this, but if you are going to be the person that says, aha, live according to the standards of reality, then I'm going to pull out the fedora. I'm going to go ahead and do the fucking tipping and just go, all right, my guy, it's time to talk about your God. It's time to talk about that thing. Can you prove that that thing is real? I understand that you would love to have this incredibly shitty take and keep it, but it's very hard to throw that stone from your glass house. Moreover, you know what banning transgenderism, quote, actually is? It's functionally a genocide. That's functionally what it is. Do you remember when we had several conversations about residential schools? Do you remember that? The concept of taking native-born people and destroying the savage to save the human? That conversation that was had, that's a conversation akin to genocide. That is a genocidal conversation. It is a conversation about wiping out a portion of the population. The way you go about it may be a little funky, but you're still doing it. So when Michael Knowles sits here and goes, let's ban transgenderism, he's doing the same thing. How would you effectively ban people being trans? Are you going to make it to where people who are born male can't wear female clothes? Are you going to be banning surgeries that people would end up having? Are you going to ban double mastectomies? Are you going to ban, phalloplasty? Are you going to be banning people just changing their pronouns on fucking Twitter.com? Like, is that what you're going to do? Is that the plan? Is the plan to be the Republican that has such a high standard for freedoms that people should be able to have, and then argue in favor of a theocratic police state? And I know Michael Knowles' answer is yes. I know it is. And yet people unironically listen to this fucking peanut butter and jelly piss sandwich and think that he's got good points to say.
We have to live according to the delusions of these troubled people.
Nobody's having to live according to anything. Somebody else being trans doesn't make you live a certain way.
And I think we, the people, have a right to reality. And I think women have a right to their own spaces. And so that means you got to ban the thing entirely. And oh my goodness, what these people say. They said that I was calling for the extermination of transgender people.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. You are literally if all trans people can't exist as trans, then yes, you're arguing for the extermination of them and their way of life. That's what you're doing.
They said I was calling for a genocide against... I said, what? I must have missed that part of my show. When did I say that?
Yeah, You did. You didn't call it a genocide, but most people who are genocidal, most people who call for genocide, they don't use the word. This weird thing happened because of the Holocaust, right? This weird thing happened because of the Holocaust. We now look at the Holocaust as a genocide, which it was. It was, in fact, a genocide. But we look at that, and that is now our standard for a genocide. That is now what the public consciousness thinks of when we think of a genocide. We don't think of things like the Uyghur genocide, where people are being forced out of their religion in China. We don't think about that, even though that's a genocide. That's exactly what that is. We don't think about all of the steps that it takes to get to a genocide. The actual physical wiping out of a group of people, the actual violent part, that part is not necessary for something to be a genocide, because that part is simply the final step. There are 10 steps to a genocide. We are currently on step 8. We are flirting with step 9. I went over that in my video about the trans genocide in the United States. Genocide does not just mean the Holocaust. It does not just mean the end result when Auschwitz was put up and we started killing people en masse. Not we, but, Germans. That is a genocide. That is a genocide in its late stages. We are in its early stages, and it's our job to stop the early stages of that genocide. Said, what is the Chinese Uyghur genocide? That is taking the local Uyghur Muslim population and trying to force them to operate within a different religious standard. It's being touted as re-education, but it's actually wiping out functionally an entire way of life. That's what that is. That's what that is. Like, I wasn't sure if you ran your problem, but yeah, that. Genocide happens in stages. It happens in steps, Michael. We don't have to... Hi, Growlith. Hi, babe. We don't have to be at the final stage for it to still be that. Like Song Fox, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. And these are not things that I made up. These are literally from the Holocaust Memorial. Stage 1 is classification of a people, the classification of trans people as separate from the rest of society, calling them freaks, calling them other things. Hello, don't do your taxes. Yeah, no, sorry, I will do my taxes still. Symbolization, attaching symbols to people, trying to make sure that those people can be branded as different than you, discriminating against them. That thing that you do when you engage in legislation against trans people, that is discriminating against them. Dehumanizing them, when you're constantly dead-naming trans people, calling them a gender that they are not, calling them freaks, calling them less than useful in society. That is dehumanization. Organization. Creating organized movements that are dedicated to fighting against that thing or representations of that thing or that way of life. Think the Proud Boys organizing against fucking drag shows. Polarization, the political polarization against that people. That's stage 6. I've named 6 things, and we're doing all of those fucking things. Michael Knowles doing thing 6 right now. Preparation is the next stage, and you know how preparation happens? Preparation is when people start planning to actually do shit about how they feel. Oh, you mean the fact that crimes against trans people keep going up? You mean the fact that we have this lovely little concept called stochastic terrorism that gets fueled by people like Michael Knowles? Yeah, it's weird. It's so weird that we would call it a genocide when we've gone over the halfway point. Stage 8 is persecution. And it's very hard to deny that trans people are not persecuted in the United States. There's one side of people that are trying to lift them up, and then there's a side of people that are trying to persecute them. It's like trying to say that all the media coverage of Martin Luther King protests means that black people weren't persecuted during Jim Crow just because some black people got popular. It's a fucking stupid argument, and history shows that it's wrong. Stage 9 is extermination. Stage 9 is the actual wiping out. We aren't on stage 9 yet. I hope we never get to stage 9. But the fact that we're 8 fucking stages in, Michael, that's why people call it a genocide. That's why they call you saying we need to ban all transgender people. That's why we call that a genocide. That's what that is. And you're already in stage 10 anyway, which is denial. It's denial. But okay. I don't
One, I don't know how you could have a genocide of transgender people.
Michael Knowles, do you know how you have a genocide of transgender people? You go through the steps of genocide and you have transgender people as the target. That's it.
Because genocide refers to genes. It refers to genetics.
No, the fuck it doesn't! What the fuck? What dumb fucking shit is what the fuck? What fucking dumb shit fucking take is this? What fucking take is that? Nobody thinks that! Nobody fucking thinks that! Nobody thinks genocide has to deal with genes! Nobody! What the fuck? This pedantic, stupid shit. Okay, cool. You know what? Fine. Fine, Michael. Let's go ahead and bite the bullet. Let's bite the bullet. It's not genocide. It's transicide. There. You happy? We changed the word. All the mechanics are the fucking same. Everything's the fucking same. Genocide refers to the systematic annihilation in one way or another of a group of people based on gender or based on their fucking religion or based on their fucking race. Like, it can deal with religion, it can deal with race, it can deal with anything that makes them a minority status. It can deal with anything. There's just gotta be a common ground for those people, and it's a genocide. Fucking hell. Religion's not genetic, and we've seen religious genocides. But okay, there just has to be one arbitrary quality that unifies people. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When you push minority groups to a certain point, their protests stop being peaceful. And then you start complaining about the protests not being peaceful, when y'all are the people who literally keep on pushing people to engage violently. There was a time where protests involved more bricks, and that made people uncomfortable. And sometimes, with enough bricks, it makes people quiet. But okay, let's keep going.
It refers to biology. And the whole point of transgenderism is that it has nothing to do with biology. That's what the transgender activists say. They say, forget about biological sex. My gender expression doesn't have to have anything to do with my biological sex. Okay.
Which is true.
Okay, well then there can't be a genocide.
Yeah, there can be, you pedantic motherfucker. You pedantic motherfucker. The deliberate wiping out of a large group of people in a nation or an ethnic group or anything like that. It doesn't have to be fucking, it doesn't have to be a fucking gene thing. Any national identity, any ethnical identity, racial identity, religious identity, those are just the things that the UN describes. The intentional destruction of a people in whole or in part. How could he be so densely ignorant? Because he's paid to. That's it. That's it. Legitimately, that's what it is. He's paid to. He is paid to lie. That's what they do on the Daily Wire. That's what they do on Fox News. He is paid to lie. That's why. Functionally. I will never know if Michael Knowles believes the things he says in his heart of hearts. I will never know that. But I do know that he's paid to lie. I do know that he's paid to spread falsehoods, because he's spreading falsehood, and he's paid to do it. But let's go.
That refers to genetics. But furthermore, nobody's calling to exterminate anybody, because the other problem with that statement is that transgender people is not a real ontological category.
It is people who identify as trans, just like there are people who identify as religions. All you need to do to be part of a religion is identify as part of the in-group of the religion. And you can genocide people out of a religion. It's
not a legitimate category of being.
Yes, it is.
There are people who think that they're the wrong sex, but they're mistaken. They're laboring under a delusion.
My guy, Michael, I don't want to pull out the dusty old fedora, but I could simply say that you're not a Christian. They are simply you laboring under the delusion that you have a God that loves you. I could do that. I don't want to do that because there's a section of my audience that is Christian, and I don't want to alienate them because there's no point in alienating allies. There is not a point there. I simply want it to be understood that if you're going to use that tactic, then that tactic is entirely, purposefully usable on you. We could literally just be like, aha, cool, if we killed all the Christians, it wouldn't be a genocide, because Christian's not a category. It's an identity that one takes upon themselves based on a... What was that word you used? You used the word delusion. If you're comfortable using it, then escalation theory says that I should be able to use it as well. So, Michael, would that be a genocide? Christian's as much an identity as trans is. Bold of you to assume he believes in any god but his wallet. But that is enough of that garbage. And now I want to fry my brain cells. In America, there's about 1.6 million people who identify as trans, somehow, somewhere. But that's not enough for there to be a genocide, according to Michael Knowles. It's not. Simply because it's not a legitimate category of being. Anybody with a mind as childish and naive as Knowles, or the people who pay him, would see the world in all of its complexities and ask everybody else to make it simpler for them. So simple that they can just hide behind dictionaries, basically. Even if we take his argument on surface, Bonbon says, Suris, what? Lat, even if we take his argument on a surface, check your redeems. Oh, god fucking damn it. Leon! Was this the time? Was this the time? Leon Sable, thank you for redeeming your points for an... Oh, whoa. Oh, whoa. 50,001 channel points down the drain just so you can make me sad. Bjornulf Verts, thank you for redeeming your points for an owl. Thank you for being on the right side of history. Genocide doesn't have to refer to genes. It can refer to genus. Any kind or class or category of a group based on common traits. We didn't know what the fuck a gene was when that word got coined, but okay. Nitro says it's still disturbing the Daily Liar can amass millions, especially if they could offer Cold Feet Coward 50 million. Yep. Said, while you got my name right, many people don't. I'm happy I was able to. Said, my jeans are very tight on my big Arab ass. But don't worry. Don't take it from me. Don't take it from me. Here, let's go ahead and do this one real quick.
No, that's okay. I still have the definition memorized from when I got my master's degree in this. Genocide is any of the following actions committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group as such, killing members of the group, causing severe bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the physical destruction of the group in whole or in part, imposing measures designed to prevent births within the group, or transferring children of the group to another group. Now, you might be thinking that members of the LGBTQIA+ community do not constitute a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. However, not only is there already historic precedent in the form of the Holocaust and other genocides, but it's also the consensus among genocide studies scholars and international law scholars that the decision made by the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda in 2008 that any permanent or stable group is to be afforded protection under the United Nations Convention for the Punishment and Prevention of the Crime of Genocide is likely to become the norm in future genocide tribunals. The too long didn't read version of this is, you're wrong, shut up.
Just in case we needed, a more succinct version of this. Just in case we wanted a more succinct version of that. Cinnamon Bun Doodles, thank you for the follow. That said, this is where I throw it back to you guys. Let me know in the comment section what your opinion of Michael Knowles' absolute stupidity is. Who was that? The History Wizard. It was the History Wizard. That said, guys, as always, keep safe. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. And insert end video tagline here.